The orbital station hung in space like a massive ring of steel and glass, circling Earth in a slow, graceful dance. Inside the main diplomatic hall, Ambassador Taman adjusted his tie for the third time in 5 minutes. He had prepared for this moment his entire career. First contact with an alien species. The Galactic Federation was sending representatives, and Earth needed to make a good impression. "Stop fidgeting," Lieutenant Hagen whispered beside him. She stood in her crisp, military uniform, looking far more composed than he felt. "You're making me nervous." Taman forced his hands to his sides. Around them, the diplomatic team waited in careful formation. Scientists, military officers, and politicians all stood ready to meet their new neighbors in the galaxy. The viewing screen showed empty space, but sensors indicated the alien ship was approaching fast. "They're here," someone announced. The alien vessel materialized from faster-than-light travel with a burst of purple energy. It was enormous, easily 3 times the size of Earth's largest spacecraft. The hull was dark and covered in sharp angles that looked designed to intimidate. Weapon ports lined every surface, glowing with ominous red light. "Well, they certainly know how to make an entrance," Hagen muttered. The aliens requested permission to dock, and within minutes, the airlock doors hissed open. What emerged made several humans take an involuntary step backward. The Vrexians were tall, perhaps 8 feet high, with thick armored skin that gleamed like polished obsidian. They had 4 arms, each ending in claws, that looked capable of tearing through steel. Their heads were angular and crowned with bony ridges. Red eyes burned with intensity as they surveyed the human delegation. Commander Vreksh led the group. He wore elaborate armor decorated with symbols that probably represented military victories. Behind him, 6 more Vrexians marched in perfect formation, their boots striking the floor in synchronized thuds that echoed through the hall. "Humans of Earth." Vreksh's voice boomed through a translation device. "We represent the Vrexian Empire, enforcers of the Galactic Federation. You will submit to our authority. Are just 9. Taman stepped forward, maintaining his diplomatic smile despite the aggressive opening. "Welcome to our station, Commander. We hope to establish friendly relations with the Federation." Vreksh made a sound like grinding rocks. "Friendly? You understand nothing. We do not offer friendship. We offer mercy." He raised one clawed hand, and the lights in the hall dimmed. Holographic images appeared, showing planet after planet. Cities burned. Populations fled in terror. Massive weapons reduced mountains to dust. "These worlds defied the Federation," Vreksh continued. "They learned the price of resistance. Now, you will witness the true power of the Vrexian Empire." The commander threw back his head and released what was clearly meant to be a terrifying war cry. The sound that emerged was loud, certainly, but to human ears, it sounded remarkably like someone squeezing a rubber chicken. A high-pitched squeak that went up and down in pitch, ending with a sort of wheeze. Taman felt his composure crack. He bit the inside of his cheek, trying desperately not to react. Around him, other delegates were developing sudden coughing fits. Someone behind him made a strangled sound. Hagen's shoulders began to shake. She turned it into a cough, but not quickly enough. A small snort escaped. Vreksh's eyes narrowed. "You dare mock the death scream of the Vrexian Empire?" No, Taman said quickly, his voice strained. "It's just, we have a respiratory issue. The station's air filtration might need adjustment." Another Vrexian stepped forward, apparently deciding to help demonstrate their fearsome nature. This one activated a weapon that looked like a cross between a sword and a cannon. Energy crackled along its length as he swung it through the air. The movement was impressive, clearly designed to show deadly skill. Unfortunately, the weapon made a sound exactly like a cartoon laser gun. Pew pew pew. A junior scientist in the back row lost control completely. Laughter burst out before she could stop it. She tried to cover it with another cough, but the damage was done. The sound was infectious. 2 more people started giggling, then 4. "This is an outrage," Vreksh roared. which only made him sound more like an angry squeeze toy. You laugh in the face of galactic enforcers? Taman held up his hands, trying to salvage the situation. Commander, please understand, humans sometimes have inappropriate responses to stress. It's a nervous reaction, not mockery. Nervous? Vreksh studied the humans with his burning red eyes. You claim to feel fear? Absolutely, Taman assured him. While behind him, someone wheezed with suppressed laughter. Vreksh consulted with his fellow Vrexians in their own language. Then he turned back to the humans. Very well. If you experience fear, then you will understand the gravity of your situation. The Federation has specific protocols for newly discovered species. You will accept Federation law. You will pay Federation taxes. You will provide soldiers for Federation wars. Refusal means extermination. He pulled out a data pad and began reading from it in a monotone voice. The list of demands was extensive and clearly designed to sound overwhelming and tyrannical. The problem was that Vreksh's translator had apparently been programmed with overly formal language. Phrases like, "Thou shalt render unto the Federation," and "hereby and forthwith," made it sound less like a threat and more like a historical reenactment. More humans were losing the battle against laughter now. Heijin had tears streaming down her face from the effort of holding it in. A colonel in the back row had turned completely red. "Are you listening?" Vreksh demanded, his voice rising to another squeak. That was the moment when Captain Minho arrived. He had been delayed and was rushing to join the diplomatic team. The doors opened, and he strode into the room, took one look at the Vrexians, and stopped dead. "Oh my God," he said loudly. "They look like the bad guys from Galaxy Warriors." He paused. "Is that a Plasma Claw 3000? I had the toy version when I was 8. The room fell silent. Every human stared at Minho in horror. Every Vrexian stared at him in confusion. "Toy?" Vreksh repeated slowly. Minho, realizing his mistake, tried to backtrack. "I mean, very impressive. Terrifying. We're all very scared." But it was too late. The entire human delegation dissolved into laughter. People doubled over, gasping for air. Some sat down on the floor, unable to stand. The more they tried to stop, the worse it got. Vreksh's armored skin flushed a darker color. "This is a battle challenge. You mock us because you wish to fight." "No, no." Taman managed between gasps. "We're not warriors. We have a weird sense of humor." "Humor?" Vreksh looked at his companions. "They find threats humorous? What kind of species?" He paused, his translator working overtime. "The Federation must know of this. A species that laughs at death is more dangerous than we thought." The Vrexians backed toward the airlock, their weapons raised defensively. They kept their eyes on the humans, as if expecting an attack at any moment. As they retreated, one of them tripped over his own feet, creating a loud clang that set off another wave of human laughter. "The Federation will hear of this," Vreksh announced. "You have been judged. A threat to galactic peace." The aliens fled to their ship, which departed in a flash of purple light, leaving the humans alone in the diplomatic hall. As the laughter finally began to die down, Taman slumped against the wall. "Well," Heijin said, wiping tears from her eyes. "That could have gone better." Minho looked sheepish. "Did I mess up first contact?" Taman looked at the empty space where the alien ship had been. "I think we all did." He sighed. "And something tells me this is just the beginning of our problems." Around him, the diplomatic team slowly recovered, but random bursts of giggles still echoed through the hall. Humanity had just met the galactic community, and their first impression was that nothing in space could scare them. Taman suspected the Federation was about to take that as a challenge. The Federation High Council chambers were built to inspire awe and fear in equal measure. The circular room stretched hundreds of feet across, with representatives from 40 different species arranged in rising tiers. Holographic displays showed star maps and data streams. The lighting was deliberately dim, creating shadows that made even peaceful species look threatening. Dr. Jiwan stood in the center of the chamber, feeling very small and very human. She had been sent as Earth's representative to explain what the Federation was calling the laughing incident. Around her, dozens of alien eyes watched, with expressions ranging from curiosity to outright hostility. "The Council recognizes the human delegation," a voice announced. It belonged to the Magistrate, a floating jellyfish-like creature whose species had founded the Federation thousands of years ago. Jiwan bowed respectfully. "Thank you, Magistrate." "Concerns." Commander Vrex's voice boomed from his seat high in the chamber. "Your species laughed at our military might. You mocked our death scream. This is clearly the behavior of aggressive warriors preparing for conquest." Murmurs rippled through the council. Jiwan could see representatives from various species shifting nervously. Several had their hands near what were probably weapons or panic buttons. "I assure you, humans are not planning conquest," Jiwan said calmly. "What happened was a cultural misunderstanding. Humans have a complex relationship with fear." "Explain," the Magistrate commanded. Jiwan activated her own holographic display. "On Earth, fear is not just something we avoid. We also use it for entertainment." She showed images of movie posters, horror films, thrillers, monster movies. "We create stories specifically designed to frighten us. We pay money to be scared in controlled environments." A reptilian council member hissed in confusion. "You voluntarily experience terror? This makes no sense." "It's cathartic," Jiwan explained. "Facing fictional fears helps us process real ones. We've been doing this for thousands of years. Ghost stories, scary legends, horror tales around campfires." She pulled up more images. "We have entire industries built around controlled fear. Haunted houses, roller coasters, scary video games." "Madness," someone whispered. Jiwan continued. "This has created an unusual cultural response. When we encounter something meant to be frightening, we often compare it to our fictional, scary things, and sometimes the comparison makes us laugh. The Vrexian death scream has terrified species across the galaxy," Vrex protested. "It triggers primal fear responses." "In most species, yes," Jiwan agreed. "But humans have heard so many scary sounds in our fiction that real ones sometimes seem less scary by comparison. Plus, we have something called the uncanny valley effect. When something is almost scary but not quite, it becomes funny instead." The Magistrate's tentacles waved slowly. "You are saying your species has accidentally immunized itself to natural fear responses through cultural evolution?" "Something like that," Jiwan admitted. A new voice spoke up. It belonged to a small, fuzzy creature with multiple eyes. "I've been studying human broadcasts since the incident. Their information network exploded with what they call memes about the Vrexians." The creature displayed several images that had gone viral on Earth's internet. Someone had edited Commander Vrex's head onto a rubber duck. Another showed the Vrexian death scream with subtitles reading, "When you step on a toy." A third had turned the entire diplomatic incident into a cartoon. The council erupted in confused chatter. Vrex's skin flushed dark with anger. "This is an insult," he roared. "We are warriors, conquerors." "I apologize for that," Jiwan said quickly. "Earth's internet culture is difficult to control. When something goes viral, there's no stopping it. Your species shows no respect." A bird-like council member chirped. First laughter, now mockery. What's next? Before Jiwan could answer, the chamber doors opened. Captain Minho walked in, and Jiwan's heart sank. She had specifically requested he not attend this session. "Sorry I'm late," Minho announced cheerfully. He was wearing his dress uniform, but something was wrong. It took Jiwan a moment to realize what. He had a small plush toy clipped to his belt. It looked like a miniature Vrexian. The council stared in stunned silence. "Captain," Jiwan said through gritted teeth, "what are you wearing?" Minho looked down. Oh. This? It's from the gift shop on the station. They're selling these now. Isn't it cute? He held up the toy, which squeaked when he squeezed it. Vreksh rose from his seat, his forearms trembling with rage. Gift shop? Yeah, they're really popular, Minho continued, oblivious to the growing horror on Jiwon's face. They also have little jellyfish ones and bird ones, very soft. My daughter loves hers. The magistrate's tentacles turned a bright purple color. Jiwon wasn't sure what that meant, but it probably wasn't good. We're being sold as toys? The bird-like council member shrieked. Minho finally seemed to realize he had made a mistake. Remove him, the magistrate ordered. Security drones moved in to escort Minho out. As he left, he whispered to Jiwon. Did I mess up again? We'll discuss it later, she hissed back. Once the doors closed, Jiwon faced the council again. I sincerely apologize. Captain Minho is enthusiastic. He means no disrespect. Your species treats us like entertainment, Vreksh said coldly. First laughter, then mockery. Now toys. This proves you see the Federation as beneath you. No, that's not it at all, Jiwon protested. Humans make toys of things we like. It's affection, not insult. We have toys of our own leaders, our heroes, our favorite characters from stories. It's normal for us. Normal to trivialize everything? Another council member asked. Jiwon took a deep breath. Look, I understand this is confusing. Human psychology is different. We use humor and play to deal with stress and build connections. When we make toys or jokes about something, it usually means we're trying to become comfortable with it. It's how we process new experiences. Bye. The magistrate was silent for a long moment. The council must discuss this. However, I will note that your species has been in our database for only 3 days, and already you have created more confusion than most species do in centuries. We're good at making impressions, Jiwon said weakly. Indeed. The magistrate turned to address the full council. The question before us is simple. Are humans a threat to galactic peace? They laugh at weapons, Vreksh insisted. They make toys of soldiers, the bird creature added. They treat everything as entertainment. Someone else chimed in. A new voice cut through the debate. It was deep and resonant, belonging to a massive armored being in the shadows. Perhaps the question is not whether they are a threat, but what kind of threat. Everyone turned to look. The speaker was a Korthax, a species known for their wisdom and combat prowess. They rarely spoke in council sessions. Explain, the magistrate requested. A species that does not fear traditional intimidation cannot be controlled through traditional means, the Korthax rumbled. They are either supremely confident warriors, supremely foolish prey, or something we have never encountered before. What do you suggest? The magistrate asked. Observation. Testing. We should determine the limits of their fearlessness before making judgments. Vreksh stepped forward. I propose a formal challenge. The scare-off. Let humans face true galactic horror. If they laugh, we know they are warriors hiding behind humor. If they break, we know they are fools. Either way, we will have our answer. The council murmured in agreement. Jiwon felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. The scare-off was a Federation tradition, where species demonstrated their most frightening capabilities. It was usually used to establish dominance hierarchies. Dr. Jiwon, the magistrate said formally. Does Earth accept the challenge? Jiwon wanted to say no. She wanted to explain that this was a terrible idea. But she also knew that refusing would make Earth look weak and afraid. The Federation would assume humans were cowards hiding behind bravado. We accept, she heard herself say. The council erupted in discussion. Vreksh smiled, showing teeth designed to tear flesh. Excellent. We shall see what humans are truly made of. As the session ended, and G1 was escorted out, she immediately contacted Earth. They needed to prepare for this scare-off, and they needed people who understood fear. Unfortunately, knowing humans, they would probably send exactly the wrong people for the job. Back on the space station, Minho was already telling everyone about the council session. So, anyway, they're having some kind of fear competition. Sounds fun. Jiwon closed her eyes. Fun. Of course, humans would think it was fun. That was the problem. That was always the problem. The neutral space station on the Federation border was built for exactly this kind of event. It had an enormous arena in its center, with seating for thousands of spectators and recording equipment to broadcast across the galaxy. Today, representatives from 24 species had gathered to watch the scare-off between the Federation and humanity. Corporal Do-hyun stood in the human preparation room, looking remarkably relaxed for someone about to face the galaxy's most terrifying species. He was a stocky man with an easy smile, wearing casual military fatigues instead of formal dress. Behind him, Ensign Unji was setting up their presentation materials. "You seem pretty calm," she said, connecting cables to the display system. "Why wouldn't I be?" Do-hyun replied. "This is basically my dream scenario. I get to see real aliens doing scary stuff, and I'm being paid for it." He grinned. "I've been watching horror movies since I was 12. I run a review channel in my spare time. This is the ultimate episode." Unji shook her head but smiled. "Earth Command picked the right person. I guess. They wanted someone who wouldn't panic. Ode. Or someone expendable if this goes wrong," Do-hyun joked. The door opened, and Dr. Ji-won rushed in. "Please tell me you have a plan besides making jokes." "Of course we do," Do-hyun assured her. "Unji and I spent the last week preparing a comprehensive presentation on human fear culture. We're going to show them what really scares us." Ji-won looked uncertain. "And you're sure this won't make things worse?" "Worse than being declared a warrior threat to the galaxy?" Do-hyun asked. "Hard to imagine," a mechanical voice announced over the speakers. "The scare-off will begin in 10 minutes. All participants report to the arena." The human team made their way to the main floor. The arena was massive, easily 3 times the size of any sports stadium on Earth. Thousands of aliens filled the seats, creating a wall of strange sounds and smells. Do-hyun spotted species he recognized from the database. The floating magistrates, the armored Korthax, dozens of Vrexians, and many more he couldn't identify. Commander Vreksh stood in the center of the arena, wearing full ceremonial armor. "Humans," he announced. His voice amplified across the space. "Today you face the scare-off, an ancient Federation tradition. Each species will demonstrate their most fearsome capabilities. The goal is simple. Make your opponents show fear. Screaming, fleeing, begging for mercy. All are acceptable responses." He paused dramatically. "Laughing is considered a declaration of war." "Noted," Do-hyun called back cheerfully, earning a warning look from Ji-won. "The Vrexian Empire will demonstrate first," Vreksh announced. What followed was genuinely impressive from a technical standpoint. The Vrexians showed off weapons that could disintegrate matter, armor that made them nearly invulnerable, and combat techniques that had conquered hundreds of worlds. They recreated battle scenarios with holographic technology, showing entire civilizations falling before their might. The death screams were performed by a full chorus of warriors. Do-hyun watched with the focused attention of a film critic. "Good, practical effects," he muttered to Yoonji. "The holograms are top quality. The choreography is decent, though a bit repetitive." "You're supposed to be scared," Unji whispered back. "I mean, it's cool, but it's not scary. It's just military stuff." Other species went next. The Melkons demonstrated their ability to secrete acid that could melt through any known material. They dissolved a metal block on stage, and the audience gasped appropriately. The shifting ones showed their shape-shifting abilities, transforming into horrific monsters with too many teeth and limbs. The Korthax displayed their telepathic powers, projecting waves of dread that made several spectators whimper. Do-hyun took notes on a datapad. Acid secretion. Very practical but not particularly frightening. Shape-shifting is classic. Good execution. Telepathic fear projection is interesting, though it doesn't seem to work on humans. Probably different brain chemistry. Jiwon, who was feeling the telepathic dread like a mild headache, stared at him. You're not affected? Not really? It's just kind of annoying, like someone's poking my brain. Finally, it was humanity's turn. Do-hyun walked to the center of the arena with Eunji. They activated their holographic displays. Thank you for the demonstrations, Do-hyun began. Now we'll show you what scares humans. Fair warning. Some of this might be disturbing. He started simple, showing pictures of Earth's animals. Great white sharks with their rows of teeth. Saltwater crocodiles. Venomous snakes and spiders. Box jellyfish. The audience reacted with genuine alarm. These are just animals on your planet? Someone called out. Yeah, we swim in the same water as some of these. Do-hyun explained casually. Anyway, that's the basic stuff. Now let's talk about human predators. Do-hyun. 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 He showed images of bears, lions, and tigers. The crowd grew more unsettled. One alien in the front row fainted when Do-hyun explained that hippos killed more humans per year than any other large animal. Your world is a death trap. The bird-like council member shrieked. It's really not that bad once you know what to avoid. Do-hyun assured them. Anyway, those are physical threats. Now, let's discuss psychological horror. Eunji took over, explaining concepts like existential dread, cosmic horror, and the fear of the unknown. She showed artwork from human horror masters. Twisted dimensions. Incomprehensible entities. The terror of realizing you're insignificant in an uncaring universe. Several Federation representatives requested medical attention. And now, Do-hyun announced, we'll show you examples of human horror entertainment. They had carefully curated a selection of horror movie clips. Nothing too graphic, but enough to demonstrate the variety of human fear fiction. Psychological thrillers that played with perception and reality. Monster movies featuring creatures that violated natural law. Ghost stories about the dead, refusing to stay dead. Science fiction horror about technology turning against its creators. The arena grew very quiet. Aliens who had been boastful earlier now sat frozen in their seats. The Vrexians, who prided themselves on fearlessness, had their weapons drawn defensively. You create these horrors intentionally? The magistrate asked, its voice shaking slightly. For fun, Do-hyun confirmed. We've been telling scary stories since before we had written language. It's how we explore fear in safe environments. There is nothing safe about those images, a Korthax warrior rumbled. Eunji brought up statistics. The human horror industry generates billions in revenue annually. We have festivals dedicated to horror films. We write millions of scary stories. Some of our most celebrated artists work in horror. But why? Someone asked desperately. Do-hyun shrugged. Because fear is interesting. It's an emotion like any other. We examine it, play with it, try to understand it. Plus, surviving a scary movie makes you feel brave. For the final demonstration, they screened a short film, a classic piece of human horror cinema that relied more on atmosphere and psychology than gore. The arena watched in absolute silence. When it ended, nobody spoke for a full minute. Commander Vreksh finally broke the silence. Stop. We demand you stop this competition immediately. Why? Do-hyun asked innocently. We haven't even gotten to the really scary stuff yet. We brought body horror examples, cosmic horror readings, and a whole presentation on existential philosophy. No! Multiple species shouted at once. The magistrate's tentacles were pale. Humans, we concede the scare off. You have proven your point. Are you sure? We prepared a lot of material. We are certain, the magistrate said firmly. Your species has a disturbing relationship with fear. You do not merely survive it. You seek it out, study it, and weaponize it against yourselves for entertainment. That's a bit dramatic, Do-hyun said. Vreksh pointed a trembling claw at the humans. You are not warriors. You are worse. You are a species that turned fear itself into recreation. The Vrexian Empire formally withdraws its challenge. As the Federation representatives hurried to leave the arena, many looking traumatized, Ji-won approached Do-hyun and Eunji. I can't believe that worked, she said. Why wouldn't it? Do-hyun asked. We just showed them the truth. Humans have been scaring each other for fun since the Stone Age. It's made us kind of immune to external threats. The galaxy is going to have nightmares about us, Eunji observed. Probably, Do-hyun agreed cheerfully. But hey, at least they're not going to try intimidating us anymore. Later that day, the recordings of the scare-off began circulating through Federation networks. The response was immediate and widespread. Humanity was officially classified as a psychologically disturbing species. Several planets issued travel advisories warning their citizens about human horror entertainment. A support group was formed for aliens traumatized by the event. Back on Earth, the entire scare-off became an internet sensation. Humans were thrilled that their horror culture had scared actual aliens. Horror movie directors were particularly proud. Several entertainment companies began developing new content specifically marketed to alien audiences, which Federation censors immediately tried to ban. Do-hyun returned to Earth as a minor celebrity. His horror review channel exploded in popularity. When interviewed about the experience, he said, "Honestly, I was kind of disappointed. I thought alien scary stuff would be more creative. But I guess when you grow up with Lovecraft and King and 1,000 horror films, real monsters just can't compete." The Federation Council held an emergency session to discuss what to do about humanity. The consensus was clear. Never challenge humans to anything involving fear, ever again. Some suggested complete isolation of Earth until they could figure out how to interact with such a psychologically unusual species. But the universe had other plans. While the Federation argued about the human problem, a much bigger threat was approaching. One that even the most jaded horror fan might actually find frightening. Young-ho had always dreamed of being a travel blogger, and first contact with aliens was the opportunity of a lifetime. While the Federation Council debated whether to quarantine Earth, and while military officials discussed potential conflicts, Young-ho saw only one thing: amazing content waiting to be filmed. Welcome back to Young-ho's Galaxy Adventures, he said into his camera, standing in the docking bay of a Federation trading station. Today we're about to meet our first real aliens. The station authorities weren't super happy about me coming here, but technically civilians aren't banned from Federation space yet. His live stream already had 10 million viewers. Back on Earth, humans were desperate for any glimpse of alien life beyond official diplomatic channels. Young-ho planned to give them exactly that. He walked through the station corridors, camera pointed outward to capture everything. The architecture was strange, with curved walls and gravity that shifted in odd directions. Aliens of various species moved through the crowds, most giving him a wide berth when they noticed he was human. Look at this place, Young-ho narrated excitedly. It's like every science fiction movie ever made had a baby with a shopping mall. There's a food court over there, I think. Let's check it out. The food court was busy with dozens of species eating things Young-ho couldn't identify. He approached a vendor who looked like a cross between an octopus and a plant. Hello? Do you speak human languages? The vendor recoiled slightly. You are human. I have heard about your species. You find everything amusing. Not everything, Young-ho said cheerfully. But yeah, we like to have fun. What's your name? Can I film you for my travel show? I am called Vendir. And no, I do not wish to be in your broadcast. Humans made toys of the council members. Very disrespectful. Those were meant affectionately, Young-ho explained. We make toys of things we like. Look, I have one. He pulled out a small plush Vrexian from his bag. See? He's cute. Vendir's tentacles quivered. That is Commander Vrex. He conquered 17 systems. And now he's adorable. Young-Ho squeezed the toy, making it squeak. Several nearby aliens had stopped to stare. Young-Ho noticed he was attracting attention and decided to engage with his audience. Hey everyone, I'm Young-Ho from Earth. I'm just here to learn about galactic culture and make some friends. Anyone want to be on my show? A small, furry creature with multiple eyes tentatively approached. That's us. What's your name? I am Picnic of the Fluffian Collective. We are a peaceful trading species. Picnic's fur rippled with what might have been nervousness. Is it true that your planet has predators that hunt in your oceans? Oh yeah, sharks and stuff. They're pretty cool, actually. Want to see pictures? For the next hour, Young-Ho became an impromptu tour guide, showing curious aliens images and videos of Earth. Their reactions were priceless. They were horrified by Earth's wildlife, amazed by human cities, and completely baffled by human entertainment. You jump out of flying vehicles for fun? One alien asked, watching a video of skydiving. And pay money to do it, Young-Ho confirmed. Your species is insane, the alien declared, but stayed to watch more videos. Back on Earth, Young-Ho's stream was breaking records. Humans loved seeing aliens react to normal Earth things. The comments section exploded with people suggesting things for Young-Ho to show the aliens next. Meanwhile, another human was making waves in Federation space. Mireille had always had a good business sense, and she saw opportunity where others saw cultural incidents. Within a week of the scare-off, she had launched an entire line of alien-themed merchandise. The plush toys were just the beginning. She created t-shirts with friendly cartoon versions of Federation species, board games based on galactic politics, collectible figurines, even a children's book series featuring alien characters having adventures in space. It's about cultural exchange, she explained in an interview with Earth News. We're introducing human children to the idea of friendly aliens. And it's all very respectful. Look, we made sure to get the details right. The Federation saw it differently. Emergency complaints flooded into Earth's diplomatic channels. Species were outraged to discover their images were being used commercially without permission. The Vrexians were especially upset about a new action figure line that made their warriors look heroic and cool rather than terrifying. This is exploitation, Commander Vrex protested in an official transmission. You are profiting from our military culture. Earth's response, delivered by Ambassador Taman, tried to explain. In human culture, making toys of someone means we find them interesting and impressive. We make toys of our own heroes, our historical figures, even our presidents. It's a form of respect. We do not want your respect in toy form, Vrex shouted, but the merchandise kept selling. Human children across Earth played with alien toys, learning alien names and cultures. Schools started teaching about Federation species. What the Federation saw as mockery, humans saw as genuine interest and affection. Young-Ho, meanwhile, had become something of a celebrity in Federation space. His enthusiastic reactions to everything made him oddly endearing to aliens, who were used to being feared or respected, never simply liked. He visited a Korthax military training facility and spent an hour gushing about their armor design. He attended a Melkon cultural festival and tried their traditional foods, declaring everything amazing, even when it made him slightly ill. You are very brave, a Melkon elder told him, or very foolish, probably a bit of both, Young-Ho admitted, still recovering from trying fermented algae paste. On a Federation mining station, Young-Ho encountered a group of Vrexian workers. They initially tried to intimidate him, drawing themselves up to full height and making aggressive gestures. Young-Ho's response was to ask if he could take pictures with them. Pictures? For what purpose? The lead Vrexian demanded. My followers want to see you guys up close. You're really popular back on Earth. Kids think you're awesome. Awesome? The Vrexian seemed confused by the term. Yeah, like cool. Impressive. The armor alone is incredible. Is it custom-made? How much does it weigh? Can I touch it? The Vrexians found themselves answering questions about their military equipment, their culture, and their history. Young-Ho listened with genuine fascination, taking notes and filming everything. By the end of the conversation, the Vrexians seemed almost friendly. You are a strange human, one admitted, but not offensive, merely enthusiastic. I'll take that as a compliment, Young-Ho said, beaming. His videos were having an unexpected effect back on Earth. Other humans started booking travel to Federation space. They wanted to see aliens for themselves, try alien food, learn alien languages. The Federation found itself facing an influx of human tourists who treated everything like an exciting adventure rather than something to fear or respect in the traditional sense. A human couple honeymooned on a trading station, taking selfies with every alien species they met. A group of human students started an exchange program with a Federation university. Human food critics began reviewing alien restaurants. Human fashion designers got inspired by alien clothing styles. The Federation Council held another emergency session. They're treating us like a theme park. The bird-like representative complained. They're everywhere, a Melkon delegate added. And they're always so cheerful. It's unsettling. Perhaps, the magistrate suggested, this is simply how humans interact with new things. They explore through play and enthusiasm. But we are not playthings, Vreksh protested. No, the Korthax warrior rumbled. But perhaps we are no longer as intimidating as we believed. The humans have shown us that fear is a choice, not an inevitability. On a Federation colony world, a human child's birthday party was in full swing. The family had moved there as part of a cultural exchange program. The party featured decorations based on alien species, a cake shaped like a Federation spaceship, and party games inspired by galactic culture. Several alien children had been invited and were having a surprisingly good time. Why are you dressed like that? A young Vrexian asked a human child wearing a costume with 4 fake arms and armor made from cardboard. I'm you, the human child said excitedly. Well, not you specifically, but a Vrexian warrior. You guys are so cool. The young Vrexian looked at the crude costume and the human's huge smile. We are meant to be frightening. You're frightening and cool, the human child explained patiently. Like dinosaurs. Or dragons. Scary, but awesome. The adult aliens watching the party exchanged confused glances. The human parents just smiled and offered everyone cake. Back in Federation Council chambers, a report was being presented about human activity in their space. The numbers were staggering. In just 3 months, thousands of humans had visited Federation territories. Tourism was booming. Trade was increasing. Cultural exchange programs were being established. They're not invading, an analyst explained. They're just visiting. Enthusiastically. Is this a threat? Someone asked. Unknown, the analyst admitted. Humans don't behave like any species we've encountered. They don't seek conquest through military force. They don't demand respect through intimidation. They simply arrive, express interest in everything, and start making friends. Making friends, Vreksh repeated slowly, with species that tried to frighten them. Apparently humans don't hold grudges, the analyst said. Or they see attempted intimidation as, what did they call it? A cultural misunderstanding. The magistrate's tentacles waved thoughtfully. Perhaps humans are not the threat we believed. Perhaps they are simply very different from us. Different is an understatement, someone muttered. What none of them knew was that while they debated the human question, sensors on the outer rim of Federation space were detecting something truly alarming. Something that would make their concerns about human tourists seem trivial. The Krellic swarm was approaching, and for the first time in their history, they were about to encounter a species that didn't know how to be properly afraid. The emergency broadcast reached Earth at 3 in the morning, Galactic Standard Time. Admiral Sun Wu was pulled from sleep by urgent communications from Federation High Command. What they told him made him immediately order his fleet to battle stations. "Say that again," he requested, still processing the information. The magistrate's image flickered on the view screen, its tentacles moving in agitated patterns. "The Krelix swarm has entered Federation space. They have already destroyed 2 outer colonies. We are requesting immediate military assistance from all member species and allies." "The Krelix," Sun Wu repeated. He pulled up the information Earth had received about Federation threats during their initial diplomatic briefings. The file on the Krelix was marked with the highest warning level. "These are the ones you described as the galaxy's nightmare? They appear every few hundred years," the magistrate explained. "A biomechanical collective that consumes everything in its path. They do not negotiate. They do not retreat. They simply spread and devour until they exhaust their resources or are stopped by force. Every encounter costs us millions of lives. And you want Earth's help because? Because you are the only species that does not fear them," the magistrate admitted. "Our forces are already showing signs of panic. Traditional military doctrine against the Krelix fails because our soldiers break psychologically before their weapons do. We hope humans might be different." Sun Wu considered this. "You want us to fight your nightmare monsters because we don't scare easily." "Yes, that's either very clever or very desperate." "It is both," the magistrate said quietly. Within hours, Earth's military was mobilizing. Admiral Sun Wu's fleet consisted of 8 warships, relatively small compared to Federation forces, but equipped with the latest human technology. More importantly, they were crewed by humans who had grown up watching movies about alien invasions and playing video games about fighting impossible odds. Officer Jihei stood in the tactical center of the flagship, reviewing what limited data they had on the Krelix. "This is fascinating," she said to no one in particular. "They're like a combination of every sci-fi hive mind species ever written." "Elaborate," Sun Wu requested, joining her at the display. Jihei pulled up comparison charts. Biomechanical ships that incorporate both organic and technological components, like the Borg from Star Trek. Swarm tactics with overwhelming numbers, like the Zerg from StarCraft. A collective consciousness that makes them coordinate perfectly, like the bugs from Starship Troopers. And they terraform planets by consuming all biological matter, like the Tyranids from Warhammer 40K. So Earth's entertainment industry has already given us multiple strategies for fighting them, Sun Wu observed. Exactly. Plus, we've been running military simulations against Krelix-type enemies since we joined the Federation. Everyone wanted to practice fighting the galaxy's boogeyman. Jihei grinned. "This is going to sound terrible, but I'm actually excited. How often do you get to fight something this legendary? You're aware this is real combat, not a game?" "Of course, sir. But humans have been imagining scenarios like this for decades. We've literally written manuals about fighting hive minds. We have tactical doctrine based on fictional battles. In a weird way, we're more prepared for this than any other species." The fleet reached the combat zone within 2 days. What they found there was genuinely horrifying by any objective standard. The Krelix ships were massive organic constructs, covered in armor that looked like it had been grown rather than built. They moved in perfect coordination, thousands of vessels acting as a single organism. Smaller attack forms swarmed around larger capital ships, like cells in a bloodstream. "That's actually really cool," someone said on the bridge. "Maintain professional composure," Sun Wu ordered. But he understood the sentiment. The Krelix looked like something from humanity's best science fiction, and there was something thrilling about seeing such things in reality. Federation forces were engaged in desperate combat nearby. Their ships fought in traditional formations, trying to maintain defensive positions. It clearly wasn't working well. Krelix vessels simply overwhelmed defensive lines through sheer numbers. "Sir," receiving a transmission from the Federation fleet commander, the communications officer announced. "They're requesting we fall back to secondary defensive positions." "Negative," Sun Wu replied. Tell them we're going to try something different. He turned to Jihe. Remember those tactics we discussed? The video game strategies? Yes, sir. Let's see if they work in real life. All ships, prepare for swarm pattern Delta. What followed confused the Federation forces almost as much as it confused the Krelliks. Human ships broke formation and spread out, using high-speed maneuvers to avoid direct confrontation. They didn't try to hold defensive lines. Instead, they acted like players in a video game, focusing fire on specific targets, exploiting gaps in the swarm, and using hit-and-run tactics. Target their resource collectors first, Jihe ordered. If they're like any hive mind in fiction, they need resources to sustain their numbers. Cut off their supply line. Human weapons fired with precision, taking out smaller Krelliks vessels that appeared to be harvesting material from a destroyed Federation station. The Krelliks swarm reacted, redirecting forces to protect their collectors. This created openings in their attack formations. They're responding predictably, Jihe noted with satisfaction. Just like an AI in a strategy game, they prioritize resource protection over tactical advantage. Exploit it, Sunwoo commanded. The human fleet dove into the gaps, targeting the larger Krelliks command ships. These vessels were heavily armored, but, as Jihe had predicted, they were vulnerable to focused fire when their support swarms were out of position. On the Federation command ship, Commander Vreksh watched the human tactics with growing amazement. They're not following any military doctrine I recognize. That's because they're following fictional military doctrine, Dr. Jiwan explained. She had been assigned to the Federation fleet as a liaison. Humans have been simulating fights against hive minds for entertainment purposes for generations. They're applying lessons from games and movies. That should not work, Vreksh insisted. And yet it is, the magistrate observed. The battle continued for hours. The Krelliks demonstrated why they were feared across the galaxy. Their attacks were relentless, their coordination perfect, their numbers overwhelming. But they had never faced an enemy that treated them like a puzzle to solve, rather than a terror to flee from. Sir, the Krelliks are attempting their fear broadcast, a sensor officer announced. It's a telepathic attack designed to paralyze enemy forces with primal dread. Do we need to worry about that? Sunwoo asked. Negative, sir. It's not affecting the crew. A few people report mild headaches, but that's all. Jihe checked her screens. The Federation ships are starting to fall back, though. Their crews must be feeling the full effect. Sunwoo opened a channel to the Federation fleet. This is Admiral Sunwoo, to all Federation forces. The Krelliks' fear attack doesn't work on humans. We'll take point. Reform behind our position. There was a pause before Vreksh responded. You feel no fear? From the Krelliks broadcast? 8. 2. Agso. End. 8. Some crew members say it's annoying. Like someone's playing scary music in their heads. But nothing debilitating. Impossible. Vreksh breathed. Welcome to humanity, Jiwan said dryly. The human fleet pushed forward, filling the gap left by retreating Federation forces. They moved with confidence that bordered on recklessness, engaging Krelliks vessels at close range. The Krelliks collective seemed confused by this behavior. Their tactics relied on enemies breaking psychologically under sustained pressure. Humans just kept adapting. They're changing their approach, Jihe noted. The Krelliks are abandoning fear tactics and going for direct, overwhelming force. Good, Sunwoo said. That we can handle. All ships, implement the Zerg Rush counter strategy. More confused looks from the Federation observers, but the human ships knew exactly what to do. They had practiced this in hundreds of simulations. When faced with overwhelming numbers, you didn't try to fight everything at once. You created choke points, focused fire, and used the enemy's numbers against them by forcing them into predictable approach patterns. Sir, we're getting energy readings consistent with a Krelliks strategic withdrawal, the sensor officer reported an hour later. They're retreating? Vreksh sounded stunned. The Krelliks. First time for everything, Sunwoo replied. The Krellick swarm was indeed pulling back, its ships disengaging and moving away from human positions. The biomechanical vessels seemed to be regrouping, their perfect coordination showing signs of uncertainty. Jihei studied the patterns. I think we confused their collective intelligence. They're trying to analyze what we are. They've never fought an enemy that treats them like a strategic challenge instead of an existential terror. Let them analyze, Sunwoo said. In the meantime, we regroup and prepare for the next engagement. Contact Federation Command and share our combat data. Maybe we can teach them some new tricks. As the human fleet established defensive positions, word of the battle spread through Federation networks. For the first time in recorded history, the Krellick's swarm had withdrawn from combat, and they had done so because they encountered a species that simply refused to be afraid. On Earth, news of the battle created a surge of pride. Humans had faced the galaxy's ultimate nightmare and responded with tactics borrowed from entertainment media. Video game developers were already analyzing the combat data to make their simulations more accurate. Movie directors were planning films about the battle, and millions of people were signing up for military service, eager to fight the legendary Krellicks themselves. We're creating a culture that sees galactic horrors as exciting challenges, Ji-won told the magistrate during a private communication. Is that dangerous? The magistrate asked. Probably, Ji-won admitted. But it's also exactly what you need right now. The Krellicks are coming in greater numbers. You need soldiers who won't break under pressure. And humanity has tens of thousands of people who grew up dreaming about fighting in space battles. Your species is very strange, the magistrate said, but there was something like respect in its voice. We know, Ji-won replied with a smile. But you invited us to the galaxy. Now you're stuck with us.